Hello and welcome back to the Pacific Perspectives podcast. I am Nux Memes. That is Kyler Mimamoto. And joining us today, we have special guest, sabresaccess. Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh yeah, I'm Mike. I run sabresaccess, and that's really all I have to say. I mean, what do you want to know about me?
No, that's perfect. That's more than enough.
I like to keep it short and simple, you know.
Yeah, we have a productive episode of the pod ahead of us, because we have to talk about the Sabres, as we do a lot on this podcast. And then we also have to talk about some comments made by Jim Rutherford today. And besides that, I mean, I don't know. Xavier, you want to take it away? You know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I didn't see the full press conference, but it sounded like, well, first of all, there's a bit of news going around. They were talking about, for starters, getting rid of Miller, and then it kind of came out that, well, the Hurricanes got Rantanen. We'll talk about that a lot since we haven't had a podcast since that recorded, though it's not entirely relevant right now, but we have some thoughts on that. And so the Canes were the number one suitor for Miller, and now they're out. So that kind of ruins their chances of getting rid of him, and now they kind of want to get rid of Pettersson because he probably has higher trade value, and now they want to trade both, which is what I originally thought they should do, because the actual issue, you can get into it later, but the actual issue is such a thing that, like, you can't pick a side there. You have to get rid of them both, and you cannot let that kind of culture seep into your team. And, like, if you go with just trading Pettersson, then anyone who doesn't see eye to eye with Miller is kind of also isolated, and vice versa. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? You're the Canucks fan.
Well, I think Rutherford should never be allowed to speak to the media again because of the way he said some of the stuff. It was in an interview that just like blew up today. I mean, we finally win back-to-back games. The first time since like December 1st that we've won back-to-back games. And after that, he's like, "There's no hope for this group. We have to do something because it's sad, but we're never gonna win a Stanley Cup with this group." Like, that's just such a stupid thing to say. And it's not like Rutherford is a stranger to these kinds of moments. He's 75 years old. He left Pittsburgh because he was too old and his brain was too melted to do that job anymore.
Brain is addled.
He's done a pretty decent job in Vancouver as the president of hockey ops, but like, you look at the locker room, it's already not doing well, and then you get comments like that from your president, and that cannot feel good.
Mike, you're no stranger to superstars leaving. What do you think about this?
I mean, my thoughts on basically, like, thoughts are like they should trade both, because if you're gonna trade one of them, you might as well trade both. And I really don't know why you would trade JT Miller personally, but I mean, I guess he's kind of a locker room problem. Clearly, if he's causing issues with Elias Pettersson, who I'd rather keep Elias Pettersson personally. I don't know about you guys, but I just don't understand what's going on there, and it's just really confusing to me because I think they have enough talent, but it's just not working. So you might as well just retool, start over again, because I don't see how this changes. And yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no world where I want to see Elias Pettersson gone. I don't really care what the return is. I want Elias Pettersson to stay. If one of them leaves, It has to be Miller. He's 6 years older, and I can't imagine that Pettersson's the only one on the team who has some kind of problem. But I know like Garland and Hughes are cool with Miller, so it's just so confusing, like what's going on in there. I mean, the reason why Pettersson and Miller don't get along. Brad Richardson talked about it on, I think it was Spit and Chicklets. Like, Miller's just way too hard on Pettersson and demands a lot out of him. And Brad Richardson had told him that, like, you got to ease up on him a little bit, or you're going to lose him. And Brad said that, like, the problem with Pedersen is something he noticed too, but Miller just went about it like a terribly wrong way. And I don't know how it can be like past the point of reparation. I don't know. They're just kind of babies. I mean, you're making one of them is making $11.6 million. One of them is making $8 million, and that's not enough for you to just like get over it and work it out with each other. It's so annoying. And looking at the trades that we could be getting for either of them, it's not interesting to me at all.
It doesn't seem like they really have much trade value, despite. I mean, I'd imagine it's mostly because of their cap hits. I don't imagine that the actual locker room issues are seriously affecting the return. Obviously, the position the Canucks are in, probably, especially with Rutherford's comments, like, that's going to tank the trade value so much. Like, are you kidding me?
Ruined any little bit of leverage that we had.
Exactly.
The thing is, like, the thing holding people back, and the reason we aren't getting enough from them is because of the position we're in. It's not. I mean, for Miller, it might be because of his locker room stuff, because, I mean, he's had his problems before. With Pedersen, it wouldn't be. It would be that and the fact that their production is so much more down this year. So they're really looking to sell low, and it's incredibly annoying, because I just want them... They finally won 2 games in a row. They've played 2 amazing games back-to-back. I mean, the win against Washington was the first time Washington's lost in regulation in 2025 so far. And we won that 2-1. Obviously, Quinn still kind of carried, but it was a good team game. We only gave up 1 goal. And then the game against St. Louis yesterday, that was a great win by them. A couple of them had 2 points. Hughes didn't even really carry. Hughes had 2 points, but like he didn't really carry in that game. Miller got a point. Miller got a goal, finally. And Pedersen also got a point with 7 shots on goal and very good defensive play. That's the kind of game that we need to be playing. Tyler Myers comes back from suspension. He has an absolute game. I mean, beautiful. That the shorthand when we were shorthanded on the Höglander double minor, and he made that stick check on Holloway, and then the blind backhand pass to Suter to spring him for a breakaway, which Suter tucked. That was beautiful. And then he follows it up late in the game with the empty netter from his own zone to ice it. That was the exact kind of win that they get last year. And if they make a trade before tomorrow's game, I'd be so pissed, because that's the kind of thing we needed to see, and we finally seen it.
You know, just from the outside looking in, you obviously have an emotional attachment to these players, more so Elias Pettersson. I just think, like I said already, if you only trade one of them, you are sending the wrong message. That's even if that's not your intention, you're picking a side. You're saying we prefer this guy and this guy is wrong. Now, I personally cannot see this working out no matter what for the Canucks. I don't think they can come out of this without sucking next year. I don't think it's possible. Which kind of sucks, because I thought they were kind of heading towards being an actual Pacific Division contender, which, I mean, I guess they're taking a serious step back now, but man, this has to be one of the greatest implosions. And to be honest, they're not even playing bad right now. You said it. They're not even playing bad right now. This has to be one of the biggest just self-induced implosions of an NHL team, of a roster, and it hasn't fully happened yet. So I'll hold my breath in that. But it has to be one of the greatest implosions we've like ever seen of just like a successive NHL team, especially considering what they were doing last year. I don't get it.
I don't think that trading just one of them is really, like, I don't think it has to be picking a side. Obviously, Pettersson is the one who's going to be more valuable for longer. If you choose to trade Miller, you're not specifically picking Pettersson's side in their riff.
I don't think they're actually... I don't think that would be the intentional, but to some people in the room, I'm sure that's what it would look like.
I don't know if it would. I think the people in the room know it's an issue, so I think whatever solves it would probably give them the opportunity to look past it and start moving forward again. But let's talk about some of the possible trades, because I want to get Mike into the conversation again instead of us.
Yeah, I'm kind of...
The most obvious
He's on the sideline.
The very obvious one that everybody here agreed on, and I think, I mean, everybody knows what it is Pedersen to Buffalo for something that involves Cousins and Byram. So what
Possibly
do we think
Power.
of that? Or Power. That is an option.
I mean, so for Owen Power specifically, I really don't think the organization itself wants to move him. I think that's more just media trying to create something out of nothing. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, just like Power himself, but I don't think you're getting the return then, if, like a bigger return if you do just Power. Like it would have to be a one for like that's how I feel like they view it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Power is really realistic, but specifically Cousins and Byram, I mean, I kind of think I could see Vancouver liking both of them, and it sounds like they do. And I could see why. I mean, Cousins could be a top six center. He hasn't really shown it yet. He did 2 years ago, but he's kind of been cooling off, and I think it's just a change of scenery would do good for him. And then Byram's a top four defenseman. I mean, he has the talent too to really shine, minus all his concussion issues and everything. I mean, I don't see it as a terrible return, but I don't know if I'm a Vancouver fan. I'd really like just those two together. It just seems a little underwhelming to me for a top line center, a number one center who 2 years ago put up over 100 points. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of underwhelming a little bit.
I like both Cousins and Byram as players. I know Xavier doesn't like Byram as a player at all. But
he's all right, but I don't buy into his potential.
Like I like Cousins and Byram as players, but Cousins has a terrible contract currently for what he's putting up, and Byram is an RFA at the end of the season who does have those concussion issues, like you mentioned. So it's like we could just sign him, pay him too much, and then he's concussed and doesn't play.
Yeah,
like we saw what happened.
Sounds like he wants a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a big risk.
I don't know if that's a return I really like for Pedersen. If it were for Miller, that would be. I'd be pretty fine with that. But that is. I don't think that's happening. For Miller, it looks. I don't think there's been anything more concrete than the Rangers' offer of Hedel and Lindgren, and a pick or a prospect or something.
Man, that sucks. That would be a stinker, wouldn't it?
It's not great. I do also really like Hedel as a player. I think he has good potential, and I don't really think he can be a 2C, though. And right now, when they're at their best, Pedersen and Miller is like a top 3 1C, 2C in the entire NHL. Like, it's McDavid, Dry, and then after that, I mean, last season it was probably they were probably second. If you trade either of them, like Cousins could maybe be a 2C. Cousins is probably
I think he could be. I really do. I just think it's
if you trade both of them and you have Cousins and Hedel, then your 1C is Dylan Cousins, your 2C is Philip Hedel. And what the hell are you doing? And then there's Besser, who's getting shipped off, most likely, probably, maybe. I was on Puckpedia today in class, and I was doing all these mock trades. I did Pedersen for Cousins, Byram, and a second round pick. I did Miller and Desharnais for Hedel, Lindgren, and Brennan Othman. And then I did Besser for Cole Sillinger and a third. And I looked at the team that I had. It is so brutal. It's like a Seattle Kraken type of offense where it's like, the fourth line is still, it's a good line. The fourth line I had was like Pius Suter, Teddy Bluger, and Cole Sillinger. And that's a good fourth line. But you look at the first line, and it's DeBrusk, Cousins, Garland. And it's like we used to have Pedersen, Miller, Besser there. What is happening?
What happened? Like, they have no center prospects, really, that I can think of, right?
There is Aturatu. He's obviously not like a top line center kind of guy.
Could be a middle six guy.
He's been insane in Abbotsford. He also got called up today. But during Abbotsford's 8-game win... Pardon?
Wonder why.
I mean, I guess we don't really need him now. We're on a 2-game win streak, but he is up.
If they trade Miller.
Well, yeah. In Abbotsford's 8-game win streak, he has like 14 points or something. He's now at point per game on the season in Abbotsford. I've been a big fan of Aturatu since we traded for him in the Bow trade. But this season, he's progressing very nicely, and He's not gonna be a 1C though. He can't replace Pedersen or Miller.
No.
Other than that, like our prospect pool is not that deep. We have Lakari Mackey. He's gonna be good. He can probably be a second line winger.
Yep.
Yeah, Willander, who's probably gonna be in our top 4 defense. It's really thin though. Like there isn't a whole lot of stuff going on. Even though like Abbotsford is a good young team, but most of the guys on that team cannot be above the 4th line in the NHL.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'd say philosophically, I'm very much trade both of them. But if you look at the actual complexion of the team, you can only afford to trade one of them.
Trade one of them,
preferably Miller, because otherwise, like you said, assume you make those trades. You've got Dylan Cousins as your 1C, which is like pretty
he's
bad.
Not a 1C.
Maybe
I thought he's a 2C.
Yeah.
Even if he's like the 70-point player, Dylan Cousins.
I'm high on him. I mean, I think he could be the 70-point player if he goes somewhere else. I mean, I've watched him play. He just can't put it all together. But
I need more than a 70-point player as my 1C. I may be spoiled now because I have 2 100-point players that are centers, but I need more than a 70-point player as my 1C.
I think if you are trading with Buffalo, and obviously they have no trade value, or they have no trade leverage anymore, I think you need to get power, because then and I don't think Buffalo should do that, ever, because that's a future number 1 defenseman. It makes no sense.
I don't think they would.
Yeah.
I know they'd probably give up a lot for Pedersen, but I just don't think they would move Power as one of the main core guys that they already have long term already.
But at the same time, if you're Buffalo, what other chance do you really have to get a superstar forward?
Yeah, that's where I was also balancing. I'm like, you kind of gotta win fans back too. You kind of gotta do something big like this to get the fan base back to even wanting to watch your games, because they're not even doing that right now. Like, you're really
look at you
creating I'm not even they're playing right now. I mean, I'm looking up at my screen, but and I literally run a Sabres page. I'm not even watching them, so I mean,
damn, that's sad. Yeah, actually, you know what, maybe that's a good segue into the Sabres.
Wait, I have one more thing to say, because I thought about it now. Can you imagine if Pedersen went to Buffalo, and on the power play you have Pedersen on one side and Tage on one side?
Oh.
So either way, you just have a nasty fucking one-timer.
And then you have Dolly quarterbacking it. Like, I feel like
that would be pretty
16%.
It doesn't matter who else you have on that first unit. Those 3, that's all you do. You just get it to Darlene. He picks either Tage or Pedersen. They rifle it, and then it goes in the net.
18% power play.
They would still end up sucking.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, we have no power play coach. I mean, it's a mess. It's been a mess for like 2 years now. I don't even want to talk about it, but
I don't think it can get
much
worse for the
Sabres. You could have literally Nathan McKinnon and Cal McCarr, and it would still suck on this team. Like, I don't know what else to say. But
so, speaking of the Sabres, how do you live with yourself? I need an answer.
I mean,
what the fuck was that?
At least you have the Bills. At least you have the Bill. Oh.
Yeah, at least I have the... All right, I don't know why I agreed to do this.
He's gonna leave.
Bro's trying to get me going.
Okay.
Right,
Let me ask you this: when was the last time you felt seriously confident in a Sabres team, and do you have hope for the future here, or is it like you are dead?
Wasn't last. I would say 2 years ago, 22, 23, when we started getting hot at the end, like around the trade deadline. We started going on a fake run there, and we just missed by a point. I mean, that was pretty fun, and they were fun to watch. They played a fun style of hockey. I mean, they lost games 6-5, but I mean, at least I could watch and sit there and be like, you
had fun and you're close.
And Tage was
last year was just
right.
What?
Tage was 100.
No, he had 90 something points, didn't he?
That was the 50 goal year.
Yeah, that was he had 50. No, he had 40 something goals.
He didn't have 50, or he was on pace for 50 or something.
No, he was on pace for 50. He just missed.
Yeah.
It was like 48 or 49 goals.
Trade him.
Man.
Yeah, I know. I don't.
But
he's looking good this game.
Like that they got some good young talent. Their defense looks pretty nice if everybody's working well.
They could use a top 4D, but
They could definitely use
even with Byram,
they could definitely use a
I don't
top
need-
6 forward.
I don't need Matthias Samus or Yuki Haru in my top 4 defense.
I don't think you need Yuki Haru at all.
Yeah.
You don't,
I don't think any
like
team
him
does.
at all.
No.
I really don't like him. How frustrating. I didn't think we were bringing him back, and we brought him back out of desperation because they couldn't get anyone else. Frustrating, but I could go on a rant about Yuki Haru and Samuelson all day, so I don't want to get into that.
I've heard they're pretty bad. I mean, I think
Very
we've talked about it before, because for some reason we love to talk about the Sabres because they're just so fun to talk about.
I don't know why. I mean, I watch them and they're pretty horrible. Well, I guess I could see why you would talk about them then, but
because they're just such an enigma. Yeah, I don't watch them much, to be honest.
I don't watch them. They're fun to talk about. They're not fun to watch.
not at all.
I honestly think the Sabres have been kind of like the first overall picks they've gotten have been good. I mean, Power's progressing nicely. You can see he's going to be a top 20 defenseman for a while. Dahlin is a top 10, maybe even top 5 defenseman, especially this year. He's progressing well.
I think on a good team, Dahlin gets a lot more attention. He's
easily
on a good power play. That's where half of his points could come. Because the power play is so bad. I mean, his point totals don't even.
Yeah.
He
could easily be an 80, 90 even point defenseman.
Yeah.
If he was on a team like the Avs where Makar is, I mean, you give him that role and he can run with it. He is really good. So they have that basis, but they can't seem to get it all going at the same time. The only thing that saves this team, and I'm sorry, is a first overall McDavid pick. Seriously,
I was going to say an ownership change, but
I bet that too. But yeah,
I was going to say fire Terry into the fucking sun.
They have an internal cap, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not official, so obviously some Sabres fans are oh, that's just an excuse or whatever. They obviously don't have an internal cap because the Bills spend all their money and stuff. But I mean, I've heard they do. So
Terry does not care. Terry has.
No, he only cares about his football team that lost the other night. So maybe they'll actually make a Pedersen type trade. That he needs to do something.
That's a good point, actually.
Oh, that'd be crazy if Bills losing was the domino to Pedersen leaving my team.
I'm not saying Pedersen. I'm just saying they could do anything.
Well, it would make sense for it to be Pedersen, though.
Yeah.
It would just be funny if that was the thing that finally sealed the deal. Terry watches his football team lose and was okay, I gotta do something to win back the people of Buffalo. But he's not thinking that. He's weird.
He owns the Sabres team. He don't
Surely.
care.
How old is he?
Just a tax write-off. I thought he was 80 something. He's only 72.
Oh,
really?
No.
He looks old.
Yeah. He looks old for his
73.
age. No offense to him, but
I would say full offense to him. He's $7 billion. I don't really care if I offend him.
Yeah, he's a billionaire. I could care less, but
Full offense to Terry Pegula.
not he's even going to watch this podcast anyway. So
He's
probably
watched
not.
every single episode.
Yeah, he's actually a loyal viewer. He called in one time.
Called in. That's crazy. We gotta start taking callers, honestly.
I don't know if that's a good idea. They will say slurs.
Yeah, probably. Knowing my followers, that's true. All right, so I think there was a massive trade over the weekend. Mikko Rantanen, literally out of nowhere. And I have deleted Twitter a couple months ago, so I'm not on top of all the trade news. So I was just scrolling through Instagram, and I saw our group chat just what? What? And I'm like, what happened?
I will. I'll read what happened in the group chat. I'll read it word for word. Once I scroll all the way down to there.
You're gonna be scrolling years, man.
Yeah, I did. I have to scroll for quite a while.
I don't think you're actually ever going to get to it.
You guys discuss. I'll work my magic. I'll find it.
All right. So, I mean, I think most people know that Carolina won this deal. I think we'd all agree on that.
Better player, I mean,
but
yeah.
And then I kind of thought about it longer, and if Carolina doesn't sign him, I'd say I wouldn't say it's a fleece for Colorado, but they definitely knew their strategy and they made out pretty well getting a long-term top-line player for a guy that was going to leave for too much money. Although it said their offer, like their max offer was like 11.75, which is stupid because his asking price was reported 14, but I imagine he can come down to like 13 and a half. And you give that to Rantanen. You give that to him.
Yeah, it was
right?
8 times 11.75. Yeah, so
I know it all.
Yeah.
just double check.
Definitely lowballing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it kind of makes sense for Colorado to trade him to get something out of him because Natchez is good, and they'll have the money to re-sign him. And Drury's a pretty good fourth line guy, but obviously for a player like Rantanen, it's not. It doesn't really the value doesn't match up quite well. Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, Tulsky is becoming my favorite GM because, I mean, the balls on that man. I think Chicago's just kind of there. Like, we keep forgetting Taylor Hall was a part of that trade.
He's not that good anymore. He's barely even like a good bottom sixer anymore. He's just kind of.
He puts up like half a point per game. I did find it, by the way. This is we'll read out what the chat reacted with when the trade went off. I just erased it.
You erased it.
Hang on. No, I clicked some button that it didn't really like me clicking. Okay. It was what? This is all caps, by the way. What? What the fuck? What the fuck? What? Question mark M the cuck. And then Xavier saying that he sees blue on Ristolainen's charts in the middle of that. And then, what the fuck? And then this is the audio message I sent. That did not go through at all.
No.
Xavier's in all caps saying, what happened? And then Rantanen to Corona. He had the fuck. Mike Xavier, what? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What? Huh? Guys, what? What the flying fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Ian was right. Are you fucking shitting me? Ian's sources never failed me. Why did we fucking start this fucking trade with fucking Taylor Hall? Wait, what the fuck just happened? And that's where it cuts off for me.
What an episode. What an episode.
I'm pretty sure that's how everybody in the hockey world reacted to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I was lying in my bed. I had just gotten home, and I was just sitting there doing literally nothing. I was just swiping on my phone. I was really tired. I saw the tweet from Sarah Valley saying Rantanen to Carolina, and I looked at it and I froze for like 5 seconds. And then once it processed in my mind, I just, while staring at my phone, went...
Wow.
I mean...
I think it's a great trade for Carolina, obviously. I don't know if they'll be able to re-sign him, but I think it's worth it. You got to make those kinds of moves. Now they have a terrifying team.
They do. You need... I mean, yeah, the ball's on Tulsky. Natchez was probably leaving eventually in 2 years anyway.
They've been wanting to trade Natchez for, like, it sounds like 2 years. Like,
and they get
Yeah.
Rantanen out of that?
Yeah.
Like, man.
I mean, I know it's a rental, but, I mean, that's still... I mean, I guess it depends if he re-signs or not. I mean, if he doesn't re-sign... I still think Natchez is a decent player. Decent second liner, but...
Even if he doesn't,
high on him.
they'll still have a lot of cap space to do something in free agency. And obviously, like, if you looked at their lineup at the beginning of the year, it looked awful. Like, Kotkaniemi's been their 2C at many times.
Yeah.
But they just have such a good system, and they have great defense. Even though their goaltenders are ass. Like, they've had Spencer... Was this the year Spencer Martin's been in net for them?
Yeah. For a little
And then
bit.
they also had, what's his face? The Tokarski. He shut us out, but only because he faced 14 shots in that game. Like, they just have such a great system.
Anderson is back now, though, and he's done all right. Like, if he's healthy, that is the goalie they need, I think. Well, not the goalie they need, but he's a goalie that will... That could definitely take that particular team, especially with that defensive system, like you said, all the way to the cup. Like, I think as it stands right now, for me, it's them, Florida, and nobody else in the East. Nobody else comes even close. And Florida's only there because they won last year. Right now, they're actually not having an amazing year, at least as good as last year. They're still good, but I mean, Carolina, damn, that's good.
I think the missing piece for Carolina is Thatcher Demko. I think they should go for that trade, and I think they should give us Andrei Svechnikov.
Another injury-prone goalie to Carolina.
Yeah. I like Lankinen. Lankinen's our guy. It's actually crazy. Like, you look last year, Demko's second in Vezina trophy voting. This year, he's our backup.
I'm
sorry to make it about the Canucks again.
No, you're all good. So,
anything else to talk about, or can we go to questions now?
Well, yeah, we got to talk about the Oilers for a little bit here, you know?
Okay, so we're going to go to questions now.
I mean, to be honest, there isn't even much to say about the Oilers. One interesting thing, though, they played their 2 worst defensive games of the year, just by the analytics, against the Kraken and the Sabres. And Mike told me that was the most expected goals the Sabres have ever put up since, like, 2012 or something.
Like, third most since, like, 2007. Or it was, like, something ridiculous. I forget exactly, but...
I think it was 4.5.
Sabres... Yeah, it was. That's frustrating. Of course, they don't win those kind of games. You know, you have one of your best, most expected. Like, it's just now it's just getting frustrating to me. Like, anything talking about the Sabres frustrates me. So, just adds up. It tracks.
When you get goalied by Stuart Skinner, I think something's wrong with the team.
Well, you guys both beat my team in the past week.
Yeah, that was a great game for a blowout. That was an amazing game. I loved it. That had me. I was in row 10 on the side where all the scrums were happening in the first and third period. That had me getting up and going like, yeah, get him like that, and I was like punching the air like, yeah, like a drunk hockey fan. Oh, and also there was a row of drunk Canucks fans all around me. There were a lot of Canucks fans at that game. I don't know if you heard. They tried to start a Canucks go chant, and it just turned into nothing. It was probably like 10% Canucks. That's a lot. They were beside me the entire game. This like 40-year-old woman was like, I can't tell if she was like drunkenly hitting on me or just like, I don't know, but she was saying
definitely wasn't hitting on you.
Damn. She was saying,
look in the mirror, buddy.
She was saying, "Let's go Canucks." Let's go Canucks. And I'm like, that's not their chance. Like, you're not a Canucks fan. Did she get drunk and like forget that she's an Oilers fan, or just a very confusing game? But that was one of my favorite games of the year for the Oilers. It was great.
Okay, I've got 2 questions. I've figured it out. If we want to go to that now,
for sure.
If you're done yapping about the Oilers.
Yeah, I am done yapping about the Oilers. We're too good for me to have enough words.
That was like 45 minutes of you just talking about the Oilers. Do you ever shut up?
45 minutes?
This isn't an actual question. I just want to point out that this is something someone asked me. Would you ever consider doing a podcast about Canucks-related stuff? Let me introduce you.
What?
Let me introduce you to a little something I got. I got great news for you, buddy. Okay. We'll start off with this one. I know that this is something that Xavier would be interested in. Mike, I don't think you're going to care a lot, but you'll still have an opinion on it, I think. This one is from at MaxSins1. Replacement for Pietrangelo at the Four Nations face-off. I'll read the rest of that after we answer the question. Who do you guys think deserves to replace Pietrangelo at the Four Nations face-off?
Well, I mean, I think Bouchard gets to go, but my actual prediction, it's probably going to be Doughty, isn't it?
It would make sense from a legacy standpoint.
I think it's being telegraphed by the insiders a bit too much for it to not happen, to be honest.
He's going to be...
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be Doughty if he's healthy.
My choice all day, Mackenzie Weegar.
That's not... Yeah, you could definitely see that there. I mean, if they want to go for a guy that's, just purely if you're going on the basis of who's better defensively, Weegar is, the second best player defensively in Canada, I think. So, I definitely go with him. At least on the blue line, I mean.
I'm just hoping it's not Bouchard. We don't need to turn over the puck every 5 seconds.
It won't be Bouchard. Don't worry. It really won't. It really won't.
I don't want to see Doughty though. Like he's fine and all, but he's missed so much of the season already. And like, how good is he gonna be coming back from this? Is he only gonna make the team because
it is a weird pick? But you have to remember but when he was healthy last season, he was actually top 20 defenseman. He was good. So he's not washed or anything. I don't.
No. He played great, but we don't know what he's gonna be like now. I mean,
yeah,
he's been gone for a while.
It's a weird pick.
I'm just happy it's not going to be Pietrangelo because I don't want to watch that guy represent my country.
Yeah.
I hate him.
The less Golden Knights, the better, I think.
No, I agree with you on that. That's like the one thing that we can always agree on, is that fuck Vegas. And I think Mike can agree with us on that too.
I can agree with you.
Now, before I forget, I do want to mention, in the middle of the question segment, because we forgot to say it, Nick Blankenberg did score a game-winning goal against San Jose, and I'm moved. He might be the answer.
He could be. I've seen his charts. Olivia showed us after that podcast.
They're blue. Anyway, the ending of that sentence was probably Bush, but would love to see me Moto glaze him. So, here's your opportunity to glaze Bouchard a little bit if you want to take it.
I got trapped. I can't glaze him because I argue in in Puck Empire comment sections about him too much. I have no more energy to give him praise.
Okay, so we'll go to the second one. This is a question that is about the Canucks, but it will work for all of our teams, and especially it will work amazing for the Sabres. So this is from _Ashley Hatch. Which player has turned out best after leaving the Canucks? But we can do it for the Sabres and the Oilers. So, Mike, do you want to kick it off? Because I know there's a lot of names running through your head right now.
Wait, the question was, who's been the best player since leaving my team?
Yes.
Like currently in the league? Oh, well, I mean, Jack Eichel.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even after that, you got Reinhart. He's tearing it up.
Oh, yeah, Sam Reinhart. Let's go with Sam Reinhart.
I don't think Eichel's the right pick there because he's no better in Vegas than he was in Buffalo.
It's Sam. I think it's Sam Reinhart.
But yeah, Reinhart exploded.
Slam dunk, yeah.
I think Eichel's having a career season. I think he got better after leaving Buffalo, but he was still really good in Buffalo.
I think he's top 10C, either way.
I still think he's improving, but I think that's just because
he's on pace for like over a point. What is his stats like?
He's leading his team in points by like 20. I know that's partially because Mark Stone was gone for.
He's having a good year this year. I'm saying in the past, though, like his stats are crazy.
Yeah. No, he's great, but Reinhart improved a lot, and then there's Ullmark who is injured right now, but obviously right after leaving Buffalo.
Good goalie. Yeah, and it also helps he was behind that Bruins system and that defense, and I feel like that boosts him. He's a good goalie, though. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
he was good in Buffalo.
The situation was really good. He was good in Buffalo when he was healthy and playing.
Even in Ottawa, he had a tough start to the season, but he brought it back, and he was playing some good hockey before getting injured. So, but I think that's a perfect question because how many times has it happened where someone leaves Buffalo and like
we're really rubbing it in this.
Like Ryan O'Reilly too. Ryan O'Reilly plays for Buffalo, crashes his car into a Tim Hortons, and a few years later he's winning Conn Smythe.
It happened in that order. Of crashing into the Tim Hortons was really a very central part of that happening.
And he's had a great career after leaving Buffalo. I mean, he's been on a lot of teams. What about Edmonton? Who left Edmonton and instantly became better?
Well, Taylor Hall is an obvious choice, but
okay.
To be honest, I think I've said it a few times, maybe not on this podcast, but the Oilers didn't lose that trade as much as people think. Obviously, you get a number 3 defensive defenseman for a Hart winner. That looks pretty bad, but Taylor Hall was like an average top 6 forward in his final year with Edmonton, and he was an average top 6 forward every year after that Hart, except for the immediate year after where he got traded, he got traded 2 years after. But
yeah, I was going to say that Hart year really boosts his overall perspective on the whole league. Like other than that year, I mean, he's a good player. He's been a good player, but that really does seem to
Yeah.
be.
If you take that year out, most of his career is not as a top liner. And he's not
Yeah.
even that old right now, and he's kind of fizzled out. You can sense he's probably about 3 years out from fizzling out of the league, I'd think, just because his defensive numbers seem to take a hit more and more, and his points are finally not really there at all. Even when he was playing with Bedard, it didn't seem to really click. He's maybe lost a little bit of a step. But, I mean, he's still obviously a solid NHLer. But who I really think of for Edmonton, more than Taylor Hall, is probably Dubnyk. Because he was a really good elite goaltender for a bit there. And he sucked in Edmonton. And he was so bad. Now he's fat and he's an analyst. But he was pretty good for a while there. And then he wasn't. But still, having him for that good run, that would have literally made us a playoff team in 2015 to 2019 when he was decent. So I think of that one as, especially considering they got a third round pick for him, that was one that got away.
I know there's definitely something obvious for the Canucks that I'm probably forgetting, but I have two guys that are some good picks for this. First of all, Jared McCann, who we traded for Eric Goodbranson, and McCann ended up being a 40-goal scorer a couple seasons ago. Seattle. I mean, that's a winger that I would love to have on the team right now. He's great. We traded him for one of the worst defensemen in the entire league. So that was rough. To make matters worse, I think we picked him one spot before David Pastrnak was drafted in that draft. So it really just nothing along the lines of Jared McCann ever went well for the Canucks. I don't know that for sure. I know that we drafted someone right before Pastrnak. I think it was him. The other one, this is a sneaky one, but it's an interesting one, is Gustav Forsling. We drafted him in the 5th round.
Oh, yeah.
And then we traded his rights for Adam Clendenning. I had to Google that. I forgot who it was. It was Adam Clendenning. And Forsling eventually ended up on waivers, picked up by Florida. And last season, he was probably top 5 defensive defenseman in the league.
I'd say the best defensive defenseman.
Yeah, I think
but a top 5 overall, yeah.
This year, he's still great. Can you imagine the Canucks defense if Gustav Forsling were on their second pairing instead of Carson Soucy?
Oh, man.
It would be so beautiful.
But would he have developed into that on Vancouver?
I guess we don't know. I mean, he obviously had it in him, so there's no telling. He could have done
maybe
it in Vancouver. But that's a rough one to lose, especially for absolutely nothing. At least with McCann, we got Goodbranson. He sucked, but he was an NHL player, so that's something. The Gustav Forsling thing is so unmemorable, and we never gave him a chance.
One more thing on Dubnyk. I actually completely forgot that he was really good from 2010 to 2013, 2012. For most of that 2012-13 season, he was one of the best goalies in the league. And then he got traded for future considerations the year after because he had an 800 save percentage. Future considerations after the years he was let me just read it out to you. Now, save percentages were a little bit different back then, but he played for the 2010-2011 Oilers. Believe they finished last. He played 35 games and he had a .916 save percentage. Next year with the 2011-2012 Oilers, I believe they finished 4th last. He played 47 games and he had a .914. Next year, 2013, 38 games and a .920 save percentage. So he was pretty decent, and he kind of kept he just kept those numbers up when he went to Minnesota. He had a crazy year when he had, I think, 40 games and he had a .940 save percentage in 2015, something stupid. But he was still pretty good on Edmonton. Just wanted to add that because I know some diehard Oilers fan is going to tell me I'm wrong.
And now he's fat.
He's fat. That's the key.
Maybe it'll make him a better goalie. You guys should sign him now.
He hasn't been on the ice in a while, so we don't know yet. All right.
Same with Jimmy Howard.
Jimmy Howard did get fat. That's right.
We don't fat shame. They did their
He's a big
they
boy.
had their NHL careers. They're taking the load off. They deserved it.
Yeah.
They both had some extended NHL careers, and
Ooh,
may as
Tage
well
scored
enjoy the rest of
again.
your life.
Who scored?
Nice. Tage has 2 goals.
Ooh.
And the first goal was assisted by Byram and Cousins.
Oh wow!
Ooh.
Maybe the Vancouver scouts are
goodness.
watching. And
They probably are, is the thing.
You're auditioning.
Is there any
That's pretty
more questions we have here?
No, I just picked out the 2. Normally we do 2. I can scroll through it again,
assisted
but I
by
think
Ryan
that's
McLeod, my
fast.
goat.
That is my goat. That's right. Oh, you know what? We should probably talk about that trade, honestly. So I think we can both say we're pretty happy with it because, to
Yeah.
be honest, even though I like Savoy as a top 6 option into the future, where does he fit in Buffalo? Like, apparently, kind of doesn't fit anywhere.
Especially with all the prospects we have and all the young guys, like you had to move somebody, and then they drafted Hellenius in this past draft. Like, they have too many prospects. Like, you gotta move somebody, and I feel like they viewed Savoy like with his injury. Like, I guess they weren't really high on him from what I heard. In
Yeah.
league wide, I guess people aren't really high on him, which I still think he's a good player. I still think he's a top 6 player, but I mean, I guess it makes sense then from a league perspective. Like, I get it. And at first, I get why people were going crazy, like, oh my God, Matthew Savoy. Like, but I think they just got caught up in that. Like, they didn't really look at the big picture. Like, you got to move a good prospect here and there to get a solid player for you
Yeah.
on term.
I suppose
Yeah.
there's kind of people kind of rightfully went crazy. Obviously, I mean, short term, Sabres are going to win that because McLeod is like
Yeah.
genuinely one of the best third liners I think in the league.
A good third line center.
Yeah, which
Really good.
it just has a lot of potential to go potentially very wrong if Savoy lives up to his draft potential as like a top
Yeah.
liner, which I don't think is going to happen. I think in Edmonton he's probably like a 60-ish point winger, like 20 goals. Nothing crazy, but a long-term
So
good,
good,
player.
but I mean, yeah.
You are shaking your camera like nobody's business.
I didn't mean to hit the desk.
Keep yourself under control, buddy. Yeah, but I mean, in retrospect, that's definitely a win-win trade because, like you said, the Sabres, they needed to get rid of someone, and there was a bit more
They
risk
needed a
with
third
Savoy.
line center. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's definitely helped their
He's
team.
worked out. Yeah, he's finding his scoring touch, which was always a flaw on him. Scoring, I mean, he's not known for really scoring.
Yeah,
He's really solid defensively, but
yeah.
Yeah.
There was
I really
a
like him.
guy on Twitter who really watches the Condors a lot, Bruce Kurlock or something like that. But he watches every Condors game, and he says that Savoy is like the best defensive forward he's ever seen come through the system, which is wow. I think I don't have the list with me right now, but I think he's up to like 30 points in 39 games. And
Didn't he
the
have a slow
second best
start?
player, yeah, he had like
yeah,
probably 5 points in the first 15 games, and then he went on a ridiculous heater.
yeah.
But I'd say it's a lot of those numbers don't pop out to you really. When you consider how amazing he's been defensively, then it's pretty clear how good he's been. But then also the next guy besides Seth Griffith, who plays like 25 minutes a night for the Condors, nobody else is even close in scoring. The Condors are not good. So I'd take his raw point totals with a grain of salt, and I'm sure he's probably not going to play in the playoff. Hello, Jungle Skog. He's not going to play in the playoffs, but next year, it's looking up for him.
I think he'll be a pretty good player. I was high on him. I've been high on. Well, there goes my pod. I've been pretty high on him since we drafted him. I mean, obviously his draft pedigree he was drafted 9th overall. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knows how good he was. Exceptional stats. Like he's always been a highly rated prospect, and then so I mean, I was disappointed initially at that. I was like, but then after I sat there for after a few days, it hit me. I'm like, this McLeod's pretty good. I mean, I don't think he got enough love in Edmonton. I guess he was frustrating
No.
at times. I really can't. Well, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
some people said that to me. I was like, okay.
He definitely could be at points just because he isn't really much of
Yeah.
a scorer. But, like, he was a great play driver, and he played great defense. I'd say
He's good on
elite
that penalty
defense.
kill.
Yeah.
He's good on the penalty kill, which that's huge. But JJ Paterko. But yeah. What is going on in the corner over there? Just totally distracted me
Junkelskog has taken over JC's body, and I think this is like a possession doll is going on here. What do you have to say, Junkelskog?
I don't know.
Is that's what you imagine? Okay, hold on. Let's step back. That's what you imagine Junkelskog to sound like? Is like,
well, I can do something like this.
there you go. Yeah, that sounds more like that. People listening right now and not watching the video have no idea what's going on.
Rutherford is senile. I think we need to put him down.
Well,
Mercy kill.
I think that's gonna do it for episode. I have no idea.
16.
Did you want to say something? Episode 16? All right.
16.
16. All right. That'll be it for episode 16 of the Pacific Perspectives podcast. Thank you to Mike Sabres Access for coming on. It was a pleasure having you here. We'll see you all again next time.